Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. Revelations tonight of another budget blowout. The state government conceding the cost of the Tassie Devils High Performance Centre has nearly doubled. The blunder in the midst of growing community angst about the stadium, but groups supporting the project remain confident the long-term vision stacks up.
It's a key piece of the puzzle for Tasmania's AFL dream. The Devils High Performance Centre in Kingston was initially estimated to cost the state $60 million, but that figure has since skyrocketed.
In the upcoming budget, there will be a number allocated of $105 million to this project.
Despite the increase, the AFL's contribution will still remain at $10 million.
Increasing construction costs, that's one thing to factor in, but understanding what needs to be done and what needs to be built.
The Sports Minister insists the facility is on track for practical completion by the end of October 2027, a timeline agreed to by the league.
We've got a government that doesn't do the due diligence at the start. They pull numbers out of thin air and they erode confidence in these projects by not being honest at the start.
Though not enough to erode the opposition's unconditional support for Macquarie Point Stadium, which is a must to keep the Tassie Devils teams alive, as public angst intensifies over the stadium debate.
The Greens will be supporting and calling for, peaceful conversation and calling out the division that Jeremy Rockcliffe is stoking in the community.
We want to have a discussion. We understand people have thoughts, but just express those thoughts respectfully.
The Greens holding a public meeting to discuss community concerns surrounding Mac Point.
Most Tasmanians don't want other government to be pushing through this process,
while those for the development hope to be kicking goals soon.
Progress is continuing in the background. We're really confident with where things are.
We have an opportunity here that is an historic one, and it would be a great shame for that to go begging.
Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
There's been a tragic end to the search for 63-year-old Greg Purton after his body was found in a creek just off Druthi Point Road near Rokeby around 9:30 this morning. The father of 4 was last seen leaving his house on Hobart's eastern shore on Thursday, sparking an extensive land and sea search by police and concerned community members. Authorities say his body was found by 2 members of the public.
I've only just been talking to the family now, and they did ask me to pass on their thanks. They've had people bring them cups of coffee, meals. We've had volunteers searching. We've had people as far as Georgetown contacting us. Initial
investigations suggest he may have drowned. Police believe there are no suspicious circumstances. A 17-year-old boy has miraculously survived after being struck by a car travelling at 110 kilometres an hour on the Bass Highway in Devonport. The collision happened near the Homemaker Centre last night. The teenager was taken to the Northwest Regional Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Initial investigations suggest he was part of a group crossing the highway to buy food. The driver and 2 occupants were uninjured. There's mounting concerns Tasmania is falling behind in out-of-school care placements, forcing parents to seek alternative arrangements. Some argue the lag will have a negative impact on productivity and family mental health, but the government insists it's working to fix the issue.
Finding a childcare spot for Dr. Samantha Goss's son has been a difficult path.
There was no alternative, so either I had to rely on private babysitting, which is very expensive.
The general practitioner facing the prospect of a 6-month wait for a place at Howrah Primary School's after-school care service, forcing her to restructure her workload, affecting patient care.
This meant that I couldn't actually work in that time, and also part of the issue was actually making account for the commute times over to the city where I needed to work.
Dr. Goss left with no other choice but to move her children away from the Eastern Shore, just to balance her work and school demands.
I don't have any other supports in Hobart.
An issue Labor says is becoming increasingly common throughout the states.
The lack of access to childcare is taking people out of our economy. It's generating less income. In a cost of living crisis, people want to be able to earn money.
Data provided by Labor shows at Howrah Primary School alone, all 80 spots for after-school care are booked from Monday to Thursday, with as many as 33 children on the wait list for Thursday alone. The state government says the Education Minister is looking at ways to expand access.
There is work ongoing in the before and after school care space, and further announcements to be made in the short term, as I understand it.
But it's passing the buck, saying childcare in general is a federal government responsibility, not theirs. Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Rural general practitioners in Tasmania now have more opportunities to work across the state's public hospital system. The first to do so will be part of a trial, which will include 4 new roles specialising in emergency medicine at the North West Regional Hospital. Health Minister Jackie Petrusma says the move will help align with current needs in the workforce. Applications for the roles are now open. It may have been a frosty start to the morning in Hobart, but that didn't stop hundreds of keen runners from hitting the pavement. This year's City to Casino Fun Run bringing together people of all ages for a high-energy start to their Sunday.
As many Tasmanians scraped frost off their windscreens, hundreds laced up and hit the streets for Hobart's annual City to Casino Fun Run.
We've ended up with more than last year, so around about 2,800 today.
A slight shake-up to start times meant runners across different categories crossed the finish line together.
I love the race. I love this finish in here. I think it's a really cool vibe. Running through the casino is awesome, and along Sandy Bay is really great.
So good to get out there. You're on the road. You've got a police officer kind of like leading the way, and then you've got the crowd taking you the whole way. So it was amazing atmosphere, and yeah, just good to see so many people get amongst it.
If running 12 kilometres isn't challenging enough, try doing it in a brisk 3 degrees. For many, that meant rugging up and defrosting at the finish line with a hot chocolate or coffee.
It was freezing cold at the start, so everybody was happy just to run and get warm.
Very cold early, so I wasn't sure what to wear.
It was pretty cold, but once we got going, it wasn't too bad.
The event putting family front and centre, with plenty of little legs taking on big distances.
What did it feel like?
It felt nice and cold. There was good views.
Having all those kids out there coming in here first, it's really great to see that, and especially the smiles on the parents' faces when they run in next to their kid.
And with medals proudly on display, there were plenty of smiles to go around. Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmanian News.
The waiting game was long, but Launceston Tornadoes have finally won their first game of the season with a convincing victory against the Eltham Wildcats. While for the Thunder, they're left licking their wounds, forced to reflect over yet another narrow defeat.
The streak is officially over.
And that is the first win of the season for the Launceston Tornadoes.
After 11 games in the wilderness, the Tornadoes finally getting that elusive victory in Ulverston. Starting off strong, 4 points scored in the opening minutes, thanks to the efforts of Shelby Rayner.
Oh, good work there, Rayner. Saves in the corner, drains a three-pointer.
The Wildcats, however, kept pace with the Tawns in 3 quarters.
Dickey goes up and gets it to drop.
But in the final term, Eltham couldn't stop the Tornado Force wins coming their way. Keely Froling scoring a team-leading 26 points.
Froling puts up the 3, goes in. Keely Froling with the 3-pointer.
The final score, 90-77. It was a different story for the Northwest Thunder in the men's game, controlling the tempo of the first quarter. Lachlan Barker with a stellar performance, leading the team with 28 points.
Barker has to put the shot up, puts it up for 2, tough shot.
The Wildcat men's were not far behind the home side all game. Pandemonium in the final quarter.
They turn it over! Armstrong, Woodhill, lays it in for 2!
But in the dying seconds, Eltham's Joshua Sykes made a clutch 2-pointer to win the game.
Puts it up! Oh, he dropped it for 2! The Wildcats have won!
Yet again, another heartbreak for the Thunder. Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
South East United are through to the Lacquer Seljack Cup final after defeating Launceston City 2-0 earlier this afternoon to claim their spot in the decider.
Scores! 1-0 South East.
They'll face South Hobart, who beat Riverside Olympic by 4 goals yesterday. 4 different players finding the back of the net, including this one by Nick Norton in the 62nd minute.
Nick Norton puts it into the back of the net. 2-0 South Hobart.
The final will be played on June 9 in Devonport. The Melbourne Mavericks season is still alive after a spirited 7-point win against the Queensland Firebirds at Hobart's MyState Bank Arena. Melbourne's Shimona Jock putting in an MVP performance, shooting a perfect 61 from 61.
What a feed, the hands in the air from the goal shooter of the Mavericks. She loves it when they look in and give it to her.
The Mavericks will face the Thunderbirds in the next round. Stay with us. Kaya will join us after the break with the week's weather forecast.
Good evening. Well, we woke to another cold and frosty morning this morning. It was 13 in Hobart and Burnie today, 14 in Launceston and 12 in Devonport. Low Head saw 14, 13 across the Bass Strait Islands and also for Smithton, St Helens, Friendly Beaches, Bushy Park and Strawn. 12 in Grove, and those minus temps continue in Lyowini. The daytime high was 5 degrees after an overnight low of -6, a sure sign that winter is well and truly on the way. Areas of low cloud were seen over the west. The remainder of the state remained mostly cloud-free, however. Low cloud hovered around the southern coastline of SA, Victoria and Tasmania. Tomorrow, the large high-pressure system remains off South Australia and Victoria. West-northwesterly winds increasing upward of 30 knots across the west and south, with southwesterly swells at 4 metres in western and southern waters. A strong wind warning has been issued for coastal waters between Tasman Island around to Sandy Cape. We also have a frost warning for the central north, northeast, the Midlands and the east coast tomorrow. A partly cloudy day in Hobart, 16, a little more cloud in Dover and Ouse, 15's the top. Fine and sunny in Lonnie, 16, a bit of cloud in Devonport, 15, a frosty start in Scottsdale, they're expecting 14 there. 15 in Devonport and Stanley with cloudy skies, showery across Strawn with 14. And to the east, a perfect autumn day in St Helens and Swansea, 16, partly cloudy in Ross after an icy start, 13 the maximum there. A frosty start at first on Tuesday, followed by light showers developing about elevated parts of the north. Showers continue about the north on Wednesday, fine elsewhere after another frosty start, and on Thursday, light showers about the west and far south. To mainland conditions now for Monday, 15 for both Melbourne and Canberra tomorrow, fine in Adelaide, 17, another warm day in Darwin, rounding out at a lovely 30 degrees. It's looking clear across the state. Hobart 8 degrees right now, Launceston and Devonport both 5. That's all from me this evening, Lou.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Kaya. And that's all your news for this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Kim will be with you tomorrow. Good night.